Aquatic horror is a tricky type of genre offshoot, incredibly difficult to get right, especially in the shadow of the legendary Jaws. Fully knowing that nothing can ever attempt to compete, when these movies hit right, they are a ton of fun. Last year's Dangerous Animals proved there's a way to make aquatic horror still feel fresh. Even embracing full-blown camp can be a great window in. Unfortunately, director Joan Brechen's Killer Whale is neither serious enough to be scary, nor is it ridiculous enough to be a funny blast. Tries to emulate The Shallows, cornering a final girl against a massive beast she cannot possibly hope to defeat. Ironically enough, Virginia Gardner has starred in this type of movie before when it comes to being stranded at a remote location without any hope of outside help. 2022's Fall, which has already been greenlit for 2 sequels, don't expect Killer Whale to receive a similar treatment. As much as it wants to be a thoughtful creature feature that balances environmental commentary, overcoming trauma and survival horror, Killer Whale falls prey to its most basic of instincts. The setup almost works. In a brutal prologue, a marine attraction ominously dubbed World of Orca sees a captive female orca named Sito turn on her handler. The effects here are a tad wonky, but maybe it happens so quickly that casuals won't even notice. This sequence is followed by a seemingly unrelated but emotionally charged inciting incident. Maddie, a cello prodigy on the verge of graduation, survives a random diner robbery that leaves her hearing permanently damaged and her boyfriend Chad brutally murdered. This loss silences Maddie both literally and artistically, grounding the first act in genuine trauma that promises a decent final girl arc. 1 year later, Maddie remains stuck in grief, still working at the diner, her cello abandoned and broken. A trip to Thailand's Auckland Islands with her well-meaning but reckless friend, Trish, could be a full reset there. The specter of Sito returns when the women learn the whale was transferred to a local marine park where her calf has since died. Maddie has a strongly opposed stance against keeping animals in captivity. This adds a thematic layer that screenwriter Catherine McPhee fails to follow through. It does spark a friendship with chiseled local, Josh. The girls initially try to recruit him for paddleboard lessons, but he proposes a different type of side quest. The trio break into World of Orca at night, hoping to cause some mayhem. Sito looms silently behind glass, her scarred eye staring back at Maddie. While World of Orca would have been a far more compelling setting for the film, we instead take a jet ski detour to an allegedly haunted portion of reef, secluded enough to disrupt the character dynamics. At this point, the survival horror kicks in when the trio get trapped by a loose Sito, despite the inherently terrifying setup. The visual effects are distractingly cheap, undercutting tension around every turn. Depicting an orca on a murderous rampage was always going to be tricky, but nothing about the way this plays out follows logic. They try to spin that Sito still thinks she remains in captivity, thus taking out her anger on any humans she comes upon. How does this make sense? And how exactly did Sito even get way out in the reef? Killer Whale seems less interested in answering basic questions than in simply tossing Maddie and company into harm's way. Maddie's character development does receive a lengthy focus. Chad's death remains central, and his absence shapes Maddie's choices. Most people who come to see a movie called Killer Whale probably do not give an iota of a care about trauma. There have been enough horror flicks focused on that very concept in recent years that it no longer holds the same weight. Premise begs for heightened camp or pulpy excess, yet the muted, self-serious approach instead exposes every weakness in both effects and script. Strangeness in tone and an unwillingness to get goofy leaves Killer Whale a rather toothless affair.